too. And behaviorally, we do the same thing. We start talking to them about how to make better decisions, but clearly, when you get into situations where students are irresponsible to their behavior or their academics, we know about that a long time before the trip starts. And that will be second quarter into third quarter, or whenever we need to, bring parents in, we talk, try to come up with a remediation plan that will allow that student to have success in school, which, as a byfactor, or byproduct of that, would also mean you need to have accessibility to this trip. So I think that I think that the trip is an expectation. However, expectations are based on hard work and attention to detail, and I think that that's the message we want all of our students to have. So that's, it's not that the trip is hanging over your heads, and if you because I think there's some students who really do try hard, and sometimes their academic result is not all that great, and they shouldn't be excluded because of that. Because the grade report, an indicator of success and achievement, is by itself. You don't necessarily have to link the trip to that. But clearly, somebody who's falling down on their responsibilities academically are probably the same way respectfully. That could be a different story. There has to be some accountability, and I believe in that as well. So,
there are two questions, and one of them, I think, might get at the heart of what Mrs. Baca was, her point. Say every student, 203 said every student's going, but we have several who can't afford the cost. I don't know if the word guarantee is right, but I guess could we guarantee that if all 203 students wanted to go, regardless of their ability to pay, I don't think we really can guarantee that they can all go, because we have to find the funding somewhere, correct? And I think that, in a way, that gets to a bit to the heart of the problem.
there are no guarantees. Again, historically, this trip, the records I've looked at, anywhere from 2 to 6 to 8 scholarships, some half, some full, scholarship for, parents who have twins. Let's talk about that's a reality. Okay, and we want to be as open and sensitive as possible, and I think I'm confident in saying that we will be able to offer the financial assistance necessary for those kind of situations for kids to go. I really am very confident about that.
And is outreach to businesses that have supported it in the past, is that going on?
It's begun, although at this point in time we didn't necessarily push the issue. Again, we want to make sure that we're talking about something that's really going to, it's the old chicken and the egg, which comes first, the proposal and the acceptance, and then go look for the money, or do you do it first and then? But I think that the kids have got some good ideas of some of the fundraising they want to do, and I'm confident that we'll be able to. Again, if we send out the notice and it comes back that we've clearly way underestimated the financial assistance needed, then we would look at other alternatives. Scale back the trip, lower the price, change the itinerary.
You ran a similar trip in Georgetown prior to coming here, or?
Yeah, we went DC trip, and then we went into to a New York City trip, and we actually were looking at a trip that Itchurch Middle School runs to the Adirondacks. So there are other alternatives out there, but again, from my point of view, the cultural significance of the DC trip is significant, and to come in and to maybe begin to shift the paradigm is going to take a couple of years to maybe shift it to maybe alternatives to other types of celebratory experiences. Those kind of things that takes time. So certainly we'd be interested in looking at other alternatives, but at this time, I think this is really the best plan we have going forward.
I'm going to support this, but what I would like to see is, if it does get approved tonight, is some sort of interim report when you have sort of a good number in terms of 195 kids say they're going, and we can provide the financial support, and 8 kids are staying behind for whatever reason, whether it's disciplinary or they just don't want to go. And I'd just like to be kept up to speed on that.
Absolutely.
And Any other comments or questions from the committee?
It's just that, you know, this is something that if the kids want to go, they can make a commitment to providing part of the cost of this. I mean, you know, way back when I was a 8th grader, we had a trip to DC, and I had to pay for the whole thing myself. So, you know, I had a paper route, and I saved my money every week, and I went. So, you know, just invested a shovel. A lot of driveways in town, gonna need shoveling this winter. So, I'd much rather pay a, you know, healthy 13-year-old to shovel my walkway than go do it myself.
I don't think any student's gonna be kept from this trip because of cost, once we have those numbers.
Yeah, I'm very glad to hear that. I am, because I know there would be some families who would not be willing to step forward, which I think is a shame. But, you know, I'm glad that you feel confident that you've got a handle on who may need help and that you're willing to reach out discreetly to offer assistance. And it would be nice if all of the 8th graders could go. That would be a wonderful thing if they could all make it on this trip.
I want to place a motion that we approve the DC trip as presented, but that we direct the middle school principal to come back to the school committee with an alternative plan for those left behind that is of no charge to the students.
I'll second that. Oh,
Go ahead.
I'll second that.
I think that given the extra time, we can hear a little bit more, and it would give them a second chance if there were any costs associated to identify a source.
Okay, let's have some discussion on that motion, because I'm not so sure I'm going to support it, so I need to have some discussion with myself here.
Can I hear the motion again?
Yeah, okay, Maureen? can you-
I'm in support of the DC trip as presented, the trip for the students Monday through Friday through Washington DC, the itinerary, the plan, the fundraising, everything is outlined. But I would like Mr. Fauché to come back to us with a plan for the students that will not be going, and that the plan be free of charge to the students, or some funds to support the plan. It doesn't have to be things that don't cost anything, but that any funds associated with the kids' plan to stay home are identified.
Say again.
See, again, I can't support that. If you had said to me, or if you had made a motion that unless we can provide for all the kids to go to DC, I could almost support that as opposed to this, because you're drawing the conclusion that because they couldn't maybe afford to go to DC, that they can't afford to come up with $150 for the other alternative trip that's been set up by the school administration. And I don't know why we make that giant leap.
Well,
You know, as Nicole just said, I mean, I think that if there's an alternative, then there is 6 months' time to plan and to try to put aside, and it might be a good exercise for all of the kids, not just any one group of kids, to start to think about that and put some money aside between now and the time of the trip. So, again, I'm not going to support the motion.
Well, I see where Maureen's coming from in terms of having a $700 trip and a $120 trip, and then whoever's left over, you know, stays in school and does something that's less exciting. Because it is, you know, it does sort of stratify the students. I would rather just have the two, either you're going or you're not going for whatever reason, and those who are not going for whatever reason are all united in the same group. And
I don't have a problem with that, but I think that, again, I'm not in favor of the school department paying
That's my issue.
for that
too.
group.
well, no, I don't think
That's what the motion says
I
to
don't
me.
think the school
What if
department
they come back and say the
necessarily should pay, but I'd
parent
like to
board
see-
has? Or what if
Right.
they come back and say
I'm not-
fundraising has?
I'm
What if
not-
they come back and say one of the businesses has decided to sponsor the Kids at Home program?
I'm
It's an opportunity.
I'm comfortable we're gonna seek out those solutions, but I'm not gonna direct them to do that.
I'm gonna ask them.
Because it may not be possible to 100% subsidize the trip for everybody.
Well, I think it gives them
And quite
time.
frankly, I don't know historically how many students have not gone on either trip because of financial reasons.
I don't
I don't
think
think
that
that,
would
I
even.
can't.
Excuse me?
I can't give you an exact number, I can't say there have ever been any, generally kids
Okay,
who.
thank you very much. That's my point.
Perhaps we could do it this way, you would like to vote just on the DC trip for $750, I'll make a personal commitment to the committee to investigate as many different options as I possibly can to put together an alternative trip for those students not going on DC, that, once again, my feeling is to make sure they don't feel left out for whatever reason. And I'll try to do that at no cost.
All I can say is that, from my perspective, that's not a condition of approval.
Right, see, my
At least
concern with
from
the
my
motion on the
perspective.
floor is, even though we're not calling for school department funding, it could lead to school department funding, not,
But when they bring that back, we would be re-voting on that portion. So we'll take a vote then. What if John comes back and says, I've got 30 kids that can't go, I've got a great program? What if we saw an itinerary like we see here, where they're going, what they're doing, and he says, guess what, it's gonna cost them $10. I would say, okay. But we don't have a plan, we don't know what we're leaving the kids behind with, we don't know what it will cost them. You know, I need to hear more, and money is absolutely a factor. I know that in the past, there've been minimum number of children that have stayed back, and not just because of money. Some kids don't like overnights. But you know what? This is a different year. This is a time where, you know, I've let one child go in the past, but maybe I can't let a child go this year. Maybe the deposit in a few weeks is gonna really set some people back. So if we can just let people know that there's an alternative that will be presented that won't cost the students anything, and the kids don't have to be embarrassed or feel left behind, then I want to hear that plan, and I want to support that.
so this is where I'm having my discussion with myself, because I don't support the motion. I support what you presented tonight, but if I vote against this and it gets defeated.
Believe me, if it gets defeated, I'm gonna make a second motion.
Right, okay. I guess the other point that I want to make is the overwhelming numbers of those who responded to the survey that went out said that they support the trip. I think it's well over 80%. It's even close to, well, I don't know, I can't quickly do this, but 119 out of 133, it's, pretty high percentage, about between 75 and 80%, I believe. So, any further discussion on the motion? We have a motion on the floor by Mrs. Vaca to support the Washington DC
Yeah.
trip as presented tonight, but not to support the
At-home plan?
at-home plan and to ask for a resubmission of at-home plan with no
No.
cost. And we have a second by Ms. Davis. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. So that's 3-2 in favor. So the Washington trip is approved.
And I need to come back and present a better plan for the alternative trip.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anything else? Great.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Okay. Back to the agenda. We have continued business, school building projects. Dr. Troughton, I believe our main area of interest here is the new statement of interest for the high school.
Middle school.
Oh, middle school, sorry.
We were notified on Friday that the North Reading, as you know, did not resubmit the middle school statement of interest. We had submitted a statement of interest 2 years ago. We were then asked, or all communities were asked, to resubmit and pick a priority, which we did on the high school. I had directed a question to the MSBA, what would happen if we did not indicate that we were resubmitting the other statement of interest? And there was no direct answer to that. The answer arrived on Friday, which is almost 3 weeks after the deadline. And apparently, Mass School Building Authority is giving everyone an opportunity to resubmit anything that was there to begin with. So I think it is in our best interest, even though it's not our priority, to take the time and go through the middle school as we did with the high school, resubmit it, because it's a new